자, 그러면 12월 26일 월요일 모닝 헤드라인스 뉴스캐스터 폴 매튜스와 함께 시작합니다.
A hike in Seoul subway fares has become inevitable as next year's government budget has excluded funds to compensate for a growing deficit caused by the free subway use policy for those aged 65 and older.
내년 정부 예산안에서 65세 이상 등 교통약자 무임 소송에 따른 도시철도에 늘어나는 손실을 보전해주기 위한 지원금이 제외되면서 서울 지하철의 요금 인상이 불가피해졌습니다.
A powerful winter storm has claimed at least 26 lives across the US, tearing down power lines with destructive winds and heavy snow and dipping temperatures dangerously low.
강풍과 폭설로 전력이 끊기고 기온이 역대 최저치를 기록하는 등 강력한 한파가 미국 곳곳을 덮치면서 최소 26명이 사망했습니다.
At least 10 people were killed and 55 were injured by Russian shelling in the southern Ukraine city of Kherson on Saturday, with President Volodymyr Zelensky saying Russia was killing for the sake of intimidation and pleasure.
러시아가 지난 토요일 우크라이나 남부 도시 헤르손에 포격을 퍼부어 최소 10명이 숨지고 55명이 다쳤습니다. 이에 대해 젤렌스키 우크라이나 대통령은 러시아가 위협과 쾌락을 위해 살상 행위를 하고 있다고 비판했습니다.
Tesla has suspended production at its Shanghai plant, the most important manufacturing hub for Elon Musk's electric vehicle company, amid a rising wave of COVID-19 infections and elevated inventory levels.
테슬라가 가장 중요한 제조 거점인 중국 상하이 공장에서의 생산을 중지했습니다. 이는 코로나19 감염자가 폭증하고 차량 재고가 늘어난 데에 따른 조치로 보입니다.
Woman has been picked as Dictionary.com's word of the year, a word so simple and so common, but nonetheless, according to the site, inseparable from the story of 2022.
미국 온라인 사전 사이트 Dictionary.com이 올해의 단어로 여성, woman을 선정하면서 너무도 단순하고 흔한 단어지만 그럼에도 2022년의 사건들에서 결코 떼놓을 수 없는 단어라고 평가했습니다. Morning Headline Expressions. From the headlines today, we saw this word, inevitable.
I knew you were going to ask me that. I was 100% certain.
It was inevitable for me to ask you what this word was.
It was going to happen 100%. It would never not happen. If something is inevitable, it will happen. Tuesday is inevitable. It comes after Monday.
그래요. 월요일이 좀 힘든 날이지만 그래도 월요일을 피할 수는 없습니다.
네.
네, 불가피해요. It's inevitable that we have to get through Monday to get through the week. 자, 그래서 inevitable이라는 것은 피할 수 없다라는 느낌이에요. 그래서 불가피하다, 필연적이다 이런 느낌으로 보시면 되겠고요. 그 헤드라인에서는 Seoul subway fares가 오를 것이다 내년에
네.
그게 불가피해졌다라는 의미로 썼습니다. 자, 다음 헤드라인에서는요, to tear down이 나왔어요.
Yes, to literally pull down or to destroy, and it's done with force. The word tear, we think there's a lot of energy or strength in that.
그래요. tear down이라는 것은 뭔가 파괴한다는 의미가 있습니다. 그래서 tear down power lines, 전선이 다 무너지고 파괴되는 느낌이라고 보시면 되겠습니다. 미국의 폭설과 그다음에 강풍, 그다음에 폭풍으로 인해서 지금 실제로 이제 정전이 많이 됐다고 하는데요. 그거를 여기서 이제 전선이 무너지면서 정전이 됐다 이렇게 표현을 하고 있어요. The next expression was intimidation.
Don't try to scare me with that word, Sue. Because
I'm
that's
going
what
to
it means.
intimidate you.
Yes, intimidation is when you threaten or scare someone, you make them feel afraid, is what Zelensky talked about Russia killing for the sake of intimidation and pleasure.
그러게 말이에요. 이제 intimidate라는 것은 겁을 주다. 위협하다라는 뜻이 있어요. 그래가지고 실제로 뭐 굉장히 예를 들자면 저는 키가 굉장히 작거든요.
네.
그래서 아주 키가 큰 사람 처음 봤을 때 제가 조금 intimidated 될 수 있어요.
Yeah,
근데 실제로
But they weren't trying to intimidate you, were they?
아니지만, 네. 그래서 실제로 저는 그런 경험이 몇 번 있는데, 처음 만났을 때, I was a little bit intimidated by their size and their height, but they turned out to be so lovely and sweet. 이런
yes.
경우가 많습니다. 알고 보니까 너무 사랑스럽고, 이제 좋은, 그런 친구가 된 경우들이 있어요. But intimidated I was.
Okay.
Initially.
Yes, but they were not using intimidation.
그때는 뭐 위협을 한 건 아닌데 그냥 그 존재만으로 그렇게 느껴질 수 있다는 거죠.
Yeah, you intimidate me, Sue.
What do I?
You're very clever.
알겠습니다. 자, 겁을 주다, 위협하다라는 단어인데요. intimidation은 이제 위협이 되겠습니다. 다음으로 중심지. Hub.
Yes, the hub is the center of everything. It's going to be a central facility or something where everything comes together. In this case, we're talking about Tesla's manufacturing hub in Shanghai.
네. manufacturing hub 그러면은 제조업에 있어서 어떤 중심 역할을 하는 이라는 뜻이 되겠죠. 여기서 이제 테슬라의 샹하이 공장을 얘기했습니다. 자, 다음으로 inseparable.
If something is inseparable from something else, it cannot be taken away from it. It cannot be separated from it. However, you can separate the in from separable.
Yes, you can.
Yes. So inseparable is separable, but inseparable means you cannot separate it.
네, inseparable은 떼어놓을 수가 없다라는 뜻이 있습니다. 그래서 두 사람이 정말 항상 붙어 다닌다. Those two are inseparable.
Oh, yes.
이렇게 말할 수 있어요.
We see it with friends or with boyfriends and girlfriends or with family.
항상
or with,
붙어 다녀.
Yeah.
그럴 때 they're inseparable.
or with puppies.
퍼피도 그래요?
Oh, yeah. I think some dogs and their owners are inseparable. They go everywhere together.
강아지가 항상 이렇게 주인을 따라다닐 때 the puppy is inseparable with his or her owner. 이렇게
Exactly, yes.
아하, 그래요. inseparable은 갈라놓을 수 없다. 자, 불가분의라는 뜻이고요. 여기서는 woman is inseparable from the story of 2022라고 했습니다. 2022년을 얘기하면서 여성이라는 단어를 빼고 얘기를 할 수가 없습니다. 네. 이런 얘기였죠. Alright, well that's it for today's morning headline expressions. 오디오와 학당과 유튜브에서 무료로 다시 듣기 하실 수 있습니다. 자, 그러면 12월 27일 화요일 모닝 헤드라인스 뉴스캐스터 레이와 함께 시작합니다.
The Korean government has announced plans to eliminate more than 12,000 jobs at public organizations by 2025, with the job cut scheme expected to help save up to 760 billion won in costs annually.
정부가 2025년까지 공공기관 정원 중 12,000명 이상을 구조조정하기로 결정했습니다. 이 구조조정으로 연간 7,600억 원 수준의 인건비 절감이 기대된다고 전했습니다.
Health authorities have confirmed Korea's first infection of Naegleria fowleri, an amoeba known to cause fatal amoebic meningitis, after a man in his 50s returned from Thailand and died from the disease.
질병관리청에 따르면 치명적인 뇌염을 일으키는 파울러 자유 아메바 감염 사례가 국내에서 처음으로 확인됐습니다. 첫 감염 사망자는 50대 남성으로 최근 태국을 다녀왔습니다.
71 Chinese Air Force aircraft were spotted around Taiwan in a show of force on Sunday, the largest such incursion in recent months, with dozens of aircraft crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait or entering Taiwan's air defense identification zone.
지난 일요일 중국이 대만 주변에서 올해 들어 최다인 군용기 71대를 동원해 무력 시위를 전개한 것으로 파악됐습니다. 이 중 수십 대의 군용기는 대만 해협 중간선을 넘거나 방공 식별구역에 진입했습니다.
Russia has published a new nationwide school curriculum that states 16 and 17-year-olds will receive lessons on how to use assault rifles and hand grenades.
16세와 17세에 해당되는 러시아의 고교생들은 교육과정 개편에 따라 내년부터 소총과 수류탄을 다루는 기초 군사 훈련을 받게 됩니다.
The Taliban government in Afghanistan has banned women from working for non-governmental organizations, a move that comes just days after female students were banned from universities, sparking international condemnation.
아프가니스탄 탈레반 정권이 여성의 대학 교육을 금지한 데 이어 비정부 기구에서 여성이 활동하는 것까지 금지했습니다. 이 같은 조치로 국제사회의 비난이 쏟아지고 있습니다. Morning Headline Expressions. From the headlines today, let's have a look at this expression, scheme.
Scheme. Two ways you can use it, two ways it is used. In the UK, it just means a plan.
Yeah.
So some type of government plan, a new policy, they'll call that a scheme. Like pension scheme.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So when you pay for your pension off your paychecks, that's part of the pension scheme. I think I've heard that used.
연금 계획, 아니면은 그런 느낌으로 pension scheme, or maybe even in art, color scheme.
Oh, yeah,
You know?
sure.
So in that case, it's not a plan, it's sort of like a layout of colors.
Yeah, right.
But then the word scheme can also have a negative connotation.
Yeah, I feel like in North America we use it a little bit more negatively, where you can even use it as a verb and say somebody is scheming. Oh, he schemed me, right? So when you scam somebody. So
Yeah.
a scheme is some type of plan you come up with, but you're trying to deceive people and trick people, and usually trying to get something, some type of benefit for yourself.
맞아요. scheming이라고 하면은 좀 부정적인 느낌이 있습니다. 뭔가 이렇게 계획을 안 좋은 계획을 짜고 있는 느낌이 좀 있어요. 자, scheme이라는 단어가 우리 첫 번째 헤드라인에서는 구조조정의 의미로 job cut, scheme 이렇게 쓰였고요. 두 번째 헤드라인에서는 fatal입니다.
Fatal just means that it causes death. So fatal illnesses, a fatal accident, a fatal attack. You know that if you see that, you know some people have died.
네, 치명적이다라는 뜻이 있어서요. A fatal illness라고 하면은 이 질병으로 인해서 사망할 수 있다라는 게 내포되는 거죠. Well, this particular illness, this disease, as you mentioned, it's hard to get. However, once you get it, it is fatal, very, very fatal.
Right, fatality rates, right? You mentioned that earlier. So, we know the fatality rate for COVID is it's like under 2% or something like that, whereas
This one.
This one is
The amoeba,
right, the brain-eating amoeba is what 99 point something.
Oh, really?
Wait,
So
is that
it's
what you
very
said?
high. I think it's at 97%.
Oh, okay.
But
Still, nonetheless,
very high.
very high.
그래요. 자, fatal, 치명적이다. 그 다음에는 incursion이라는 단어입니다.
Incursion, it's usually used between two countries that are at war with each other or having problems, and normally they border each other. So forces from one side cross the border. That's called an incursion because they've entered an area that is not part of their jurisdiction and is technically restricted to them. They shouldn't do that.
So if you cross the border when you shouldn't, and you're kind of invading their territory.
The idea is like you're invading
Yeah.
or you're going to attack.
그래요. 침입이라는 의미로 보시면 되겠고요. 그 다음에는 school curriculum.
School curriculum, again, it's like a scheme in a sense, like the British use of scheme. It's the plan, and it lays out what students will learn in each grade. So what are the subjects they'll learn, and then within each subject, what topics.
Exactly. 여기서 학교 교과 과정을 말하고 있는 건데요. In Russia, they've decided to add something to their school curriculum.
Right, teaching how to use assault rifles and hand grenades.
For 16 and 17-year-olds. 자, 그래요. 자, 그 다음에 마지막으로 to spark something.
Spark something, to cause something to start. Usually it's used for right thing. It sparked some international condemnation. It made everybody really say how much they disagree with something. So you can use it negatively that way. But it could also be used to talk about sparking interest. Right? So
Sparking interest.
Right. we could say how Squid Game, for example, sparked a lot of international interest in Korean cinema and
Right.
Korean TV shows.
Definitely. 그때는 관심을 끌다의 의미로 볼 수 있겠네요. And people around the world were trying to get their hands on the Korean sweets and the 달고나 and
Oh
things
yeah,
like that.
it sparked a lot of interest
Yeah.
in
Korean
Korean
culture.
culture. Yeah, exactly.
spark, 촉발하다라는 의미입니다. 자, 이렇게 오늘 헤드라인에서 나온 표현들 리뷰해봤고요. 모닝 헤드라인 익스프레션스는 오디오 어학당과 유튜브에서 무료로 다시 듣기 하실 수 있습니다. 자, 그러면 12월 28일 수요일 모닝 헤드라인스 뉴스캐스터 레이와 함께 시작합니다.
The Ministry of Education has announced plans to strengthen measures against the infringement of teachers' rights in the classroom, making it mandatory to document serious offenses by students against teachers that lead to expulsion or school transfers on their official school records.
교육부는 교권 침해로 전학 또는 퇴학 등 중대 조치를 받은 학생의 경우 이 사실을 학교 생활기록부에 기재하도록 하는 등의 내용을 담은 교권 침해 대응 방침을 발표했습니다.
A leading think tank has forecast Korea's economic growth rate to slow to 1.4% in 2023, with the possibility of mild stagflation or a mix of slumping growth and high inflation.
우리나라의 내년 경제 성장률이 1.4%에 그칠 것이며 경기 침체에도 물가는 오르는 약한 스태그플레이션 상태에 빠질 가능성이 있다는 전망이 나왔습니다.
Physical attacks on U.S. power grids have surged to a new peak as extremists motivated by online conspiracy theories and pursuing a far-right agenda are suspected to be taking aim at the country's critical infrastructure.
미국에서 전력 기반 시설을 훼손하는 극단주의자들의 공격이 눈에 띄게 증가하고 있습니다. 당국은 이들이 온라인상의 음모론에 자극을 받고 극우 세력 아젠다를 추종하는 것으로 추측하고 있다고 외신이 전했습니다.
Taiwan has announced it will extend compulsory military service to 1 year from the current 4 months, reinforcing the island's civil defense amid rising Chinese military pressure.
중국의 군사 위협 증가로 대만 정부는 현행 군 의무 복무 기간을 4개월에서 1년으로 연장한다고 발표했습니다.
A video of UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's conversation with a homeless man asking if he worked in business has gone viral, with people labeling it cringeworthy and excruciating.
리시 수낙 영국 총리가 노숙인 남성에게 직장이 있는지를 묻는 대화가 담긴 영상이 확산되면서 영상의 대화 내용이 민망하고 기이하다는 지적이 쏟아지고 있습니다. And those have been today's morning headlines. Morning headline expressions. From the headlines, we looked at the expression to lead to something or somewhere.
Right, you lead to something, it's the thing that causes another thing to happen. It's the reason another event happened.
네, 무언가로 이어지다라는 의미가 있어서요. A leads to B. That means A will result in B.
Right, you might say the bad weather led to a lot of traffic accidents or led to some traffic jams, for
네.
example.
그래서 이런 결과에 대해서 얘기할 수도 있고 아니면 장소에 대해서 말할 수도 있습니다. This road leads to EBS.
Sure.
So you could use it in that way as
Right.
well. So lead to, in this case, we're talking about actions by certain students that lead to expulsion. If that's something that's happened, then it'll remain on their official school records.
That's what it was like when I was a kid in
It
Canada.
should remain on their records for other people, for other schools to know.
Yeah,
just
when
in
we were
case.
kids, we were told like if you have suspensions or expulsions, then you won't get into university.
Ah,
That was
interesting.
always the thing that kind of,
It's a
if
lot
you
more
wanted to go,
strict.
if you wanted
okay.
to go to university,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I got to be a little bit careful.
Exactly. 자, 그다음에 그 expulsion이라는 게 바로 퇴학이 되겠습니다. The next expression is stagflation.
Something we've talked quite a lot
Yeah,
about
we
over the
have.
last couple of
We have
years,
indeed,
right?
yeah.
So stagflation is a economic phenomenon situation where there's slowing growth, or even like in the 70s in the U.S., negative growth. Usually, in the past, historically, this has been accompanied by high unemployment. We're not seeing that at the moment, but that's usually, if you look up the definition of stagflation, it'll include high unemployment.
Yeah.
But the key is that you've got slowing growth and inflation.
그렇죠. 경기 불황 중에도 물가는 오르는 그런 현상을 말하는데요. The think tank said that we may see quasi-stagflation in 2023. So it's not like full-on stagflation, but a mild stagflation.
Because it's slowing growth. You know, it's not this like negative growth and then double-digit inflation like it was in the 70s in the US.
Exactly. 그래서 준 stagflation이 예상된다라는 전망이 나왔고요. The next term was conspiracy theory.
Oh, are you a conspiracy
I
theorist?
am not.
No, you don't.
I know some people believe in UFOs and aliens.
And the U.S. is covering it up. The government covers things up.
Yeah.
There's lots of conspiracy theories about 9/11.
Oh,
You
그래요.
know,
We won't go into those, but the conspiracy theories are
when
lots.
people think that something different actually happened from what you're told happened, and it's a cover-up.
그래요. 음모론을 영어로 conspiracy theory라고 하고요. 음모론자는 conspiracy theorist라고 합니다. 자, 그 다음에 강화한다는 뜻의 to reinforce.
Reinforce, make something stronger.
Yeah.
That's all it is, right? Like you might even, for example, teachers might teach a topic and then review it, teach it again, just to reinforce it, make sure that it's stronger and the students understood it.
네.
You could reinforce your windows, your door if it was weak.
대만 얘기였죠. To reinforce Taiwan's civil defense. 이렇게 군의 military defense system 아니면 power 이런 것들을 좀 강화하기 위해서 앞으로는 4개월이 아니라 1년 동안 군 복무를 하도록 하겠다. 2024년부터라는 발표가 나왔습니다. Apparently in Taiwan, currently you can offer to serve in the military, but not a lot of people are voluntarily doing this. So they're going to have the mandatory 1-year service.
Yeah.
From 2 years from now. Or actually, 2024.
2024, yeah, it's just a year away.
Yep, there you go. 자, 마지막으로는요, excruciating입니다.
Excruciating. Usually, it's used to describe pain. So if you say, you're in excruciating pain, severe, extreme. We talked about extreme today. Extreme pain. The way we used it, the way it was used in today's article was, watching the video of Rishi Sunak talking to a homeless person who was excruciating, meaning, just painful to watch.
Painful to watch.
You use it figuratively.
Right. Excruciating is associated with pain. 그래서 좀 고통스럽다라는 의미가 될 텐데 여기서는 보기가 힘들었다라는 의미로 보시면 되겠습니다. 자, 이렇게 헤드라인에서 나온 표현들 리뷰해봤고요. 모닝 헤드라인 익스프레션스는 오디오 어학당과 유튜브에서 무료로 다시 듣기 하실 수 있습니다. 자, 그러면 12월 29일 목요일 모닝 헤드라인스 뉴스캐스터 레이와 함께 시작합니다.
Korea's first lunar orbiter, Danuri, has successfully entered the moon's orbit 145 days after being launched into space, according to the Science Ministry and the Korea Aerospace Research Institute.
우리나라의 첫 달 궤도선 다누리가 발사 145일 만에 달 상공 임무 궤도에 성공적으로 안착했다고 과학기술정보통신부 그리고 한국항공우주연구원이 발표했습니다.
Korea's population has declined for 36 consecutive months, according to Statistics Korea, due to a combination of plunging birth rate, aging population, and the COVID-19 pandemic.
저출산과 고령화, 코로나19 등의 요인들이 복합적으로 작용하면서 우리나라 인구가 최근 3년 동안 내리 감소했다고 통계청이 밝혔습니다.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has signed a decree that bans the supply of crude oil and oil products from February 1st for 5 months to nations that impose a price cap agreed by Western nations.
블라디미르 푸틴 러시아 대통령은 서방 국가들이 정한 러시아산 원유 가격 상한제를 도입하는 국가에 원유 및 석유 제품 판매를 오는 2월 1일부터 5개월 동안 금지하는 법령을 통과시켰습니다.
A 22-year-old woman has tragically frozen to death while trying to wait out a historic snowstorm in Buffalo, New York, after her car was stranded in snow on her way home from work.
미국 뉴욕주 버팔로에서 역대급 폭설 속에 퇴근하던 22세 여성이 눈 속에 고립돼 상황이 종료되기를 차 안에서 기다리다 안타깝게 동사하는 사고가 발생했습니다.
A British metal detectorist's unexpected find of an ancient Roman gold earring in a field has been declared treasure and will be lent to a museum exhibition.
한 영국 남성이 들판에서 금속 탐지기로 우연히 찾아낸 고대 로마 시대의 금 귀걸이가 보물로 지정됐습니다. 이 귀걸이는 대여 절차를 거쳐 박물관에도 전시될 예정입니다. And those are today's headlines. Morning headline expressions. From the headlines today, we looked at the term orbit.
Right, Danuri entered the moon's orbit, so
Yeah.
now it's within the moon's gravity, and now it's orbiting around the moon, so
Yeah.
it's taking that curved path.
So it can be
circling
used
the
as a
moon.
verb as well. It's orbiting around the moon, and it's in the moon's orbit.
Absolutely.
아하, 궤도라는 뜻입니다. 동사로 쓸 수도 있고요. 이렇게 돈다라는 뜻으로. 자, 그 다음에 plunging.
Plunging, so you could jump off a diving board
Yeah.
or a dock into the water, and if it was high, you would probably go really deep into the water. You would plunge into the water. When it's used, when we're talking about figures, right? So say like usually price levels. In this case, we were talking about Korea's population or Korea's birth rate.
Right.
Stock prices, when they plunge, they drop and they drop drastically.
Yeah.
And usually quickly, right? It's like if you fall into water, you plunge down quickly.
그죠.
You go down really quick.
떨어진다, plunging이고요. When it comes to clothing, if
Yeah.
I just mention a little bit about necklines,
Okay.
there's something called a plunging neckline, and that means it's very low.
Oh, right,
you know.
okay.
그래서 여성 옷들 중에 이렇게 넥라인이 이제 깊게 파인 그런 옷을 plunging neckline이 있다, 이렇게 말하기도 합니다. 그래서 아래로 뚝 떨어졌다, 이런 의미고요. What about imposing something?
When you impose something, it's usually some kind of rule or a tax, for example.
Yeah.
And it's done by an authority figure or an authority, any like government, for example, and they force people to accept it, right? It's imposed on people. They apply it and there's no negotiation. They're just going ahead and doing it.
Exactly. When you impose something, 도입하다 아니면 시행하다 의미로 보시면 되겠고요. How to wait something out.
Wait something out, exactly kind of how it's something that usually this is used for weather, right? Snowstorm, rainstorm. Just stay inside. Yeah, it's usually you have some plan, right? To go somewhere, to travel somewhere. But because it's so dangerous, traveling during that inclement weather, you decide to stay put,
Yeah.
wait for it to pass, and then you can go when it's safer.
Inclement weather는 악천후예요. 그래서 안 좋은 날씨가 계속되면 그냥 끝나길 기다려야겠다. I think I'm just going to wait it out. 이렇게 말할 수 있어요. Wait out라는 표현이었고요. 마지막으로 be declared something or be declared treasure.
Right. Yeah. So if you declare something, if you declare A as B, then you're officially saying that A is B, right? So the man found this earring. Look at the gold earring. Okay, is it real? Is it gold? How old is it? Is it treasure? Does it classify as treasure? So somebody looks at it, and then they officially determine whether or not it is, and then announce that it is. So they've declared, yep, okay, it is.
선언하다의 의미가 원래는 있어요. 그래서 royal family 같은 경우에는 I declare you king, or I declare you a knight, 뭐 이렇게 할 수 있어요. 선언하다의 의미 그렇게 쓸 수 있고, 아니면 공항에서는 you can declare something at the airport, 세관 신고할 때 이런 그 신고하다의 의미. 여기서는 지정의 의미가 있죠. 보물로 지정이 됐습니다. It's been declared treasure. Alright, well that's going to do it for our headline expressions. 자, 모닝 헤드라인 expressions는요. 오디오 어학당과 유튜브에서 무료로 다시 듣기 하실 수 있습니다. 12월 30일 금요일 모닝 헤드라인스 뉴스캐스터 폴과 함께 시작합니다.
Subway and bus fares in Seoul are likely to rise by 300 won from as early as next April, marking the first price raise in 8 years to offset the growing deficit stemming from fare-free subway rides for the elderly.
서울 지하철과 버스 요금이 이르면 내년 4월부터 300원씩 인상될 것으로 보입니다. 노약자 무임 소송으로 누적된 적자 폭을 상쇄하기 위한 8년 만의 인상 조치입니다.
The US has announced all travelers from China will be required to provide a negative COVID-19 test to enter the country, joining other nations imposing restrictions because of a surge of infections.
중국인 감염자가 급증하자 이들의 입국 제한 조치를 실시하기로 한 다른 나라들에 이어 미국도 최근 입국하는 모든 중국인 여행객들에게 코로나19 음성 확인서를 제출할 것을 요구했습니다.
2022 will be the UK's warmest year on record, according to Britain's National Weather Service, with provisional data indicating the annual average temperature this year would exceed the previous record set in 2014.
영국 기상청은 올 평균 기온이 직전 최고 기록인 2014년을 넘을 것이라는 잠정 결과에 따라 올해가 영국에서 역대 가장 더운 해가 될 것으로 보인다고 발표했습니다.
A rapidly spreading disease called yellow band is killing corals over vast stretches of Thailand's seafloor, with scientists fearing it may be getting worse because of climate change.
황색띠병이 급속하게 퍼지면서 태국 해저의 광대한 산호초 지형이 파괴되고 있는 것으로 나타났습니다. 과학자들은 기후변화로 인해 이 현상이 더 악화될 것으로 우려하고 있습니다.
The television series Pachinko, which chronicles the journey of a Korean family living in Japan across 4 generations, has been selected as the best TV series of 2022 by a renowned film critic belonging to a leading US daily newspaper.
제일 한국인 가족의 4대에 걸친 삶을 다룬 드라마 시리즈 파친코가 미국 유력 일간지의 유명 영화평론가가 뽑은 2022 최고의 TV 드라마로 선정됐습니다. Well, those have been our morning headlines. Morning headline expressions. From the headlines today, we looked at to stem from something. What did that mean?
It means to come from it, to grow from it. It's coming from one thing and then turning into something else.
So stemming from something means it begins somewhere and then it leads to somewhere else.
Exactly.
네, 어디에서 생겨나다라는 표현입니다. 그래서 the deficit that Seoul subways and buses are experiencing stem from the free subway rides for the elderly. So now they've decided to increase the rate. It's going up by 301 from April, it looks like. The next headline had the expression be required to.
Do I have to explain it?
You are required to explain this.
Yes, if you're required to do something, you have to. It's usually because of a rule or a regulation. You won't require a friend to do something, you'll ask them to do it. But an airport or a government or a police officer may require you to do something.
지금 선생님의 예문이 너무 좋았던 게 제가 좀 직설적으로 you must explain 해도 되지만 이거를 우회적으로 그 다음에 좀 공식적인 느낌을 살려서 you are required to explain it 라고 하면 사실 그 강제성은 똑같이 들어있지만 훨씬 부드럽게 들려요.
네.
네. 그래서 지금 설명을 하실 것을 요구드립니다. 뭐 이런 느낌으로 볼 수 있겠죠. 그래서 꼭 해야 된다 이런 뜻입니다. On record는 뭘까요?
Yes, on record means we have the data. It's written down or typed down or printed out somewhere.
기록됐다는 뜻입니다. On record. 날씨에 대한 기록, 2022년 영국에서는 기록된 데이터 상으로 가장 더운 한 해로 기록이 될 거라고 해요. The next expression was a stretch of something.
Yes, a stretch of land or a stretch of ocean or a stretch of seafloor means an area, an amount of that land or sea or whatever it may be. I hope one day to own a stretch of land where I can plant fruit trees.
Oh, that would be very nice. 네, 어떤 구역이나 지역 같은 것을 말해요. 그래서 보통 a vast stretch of land라고 하면은 넓은 규모의 땅 이런 의미로 규모라고도 이렇게 의역을 할 수 있을 것 같아요. 자, 그다음에 마지막 expression은 chronicle이라는 동사였습니다.
Yes, if we chronicle something, we write it down in detail from beginning to end, chronologically, as Sue explained earlier. My favorite book when I was a kid, or series of books, was The Chronicles of Narnia, which was the detailed explanation of what happened in that fantasy land.
네, 우리말로는 나니아 연대기라고 하죠. 연대기라는 뜻 명사로 썼을 때 여기 있고요. 그다음에 동사일 때는 연대순으로 기록한다라는 의미가 있는데 이러이러한 것을 보여주는 TV 시리즈다라는 의미로 Pachinko Chronicles the journey of a Korean family across 4 generations라고 했습니다. Well, that's going to do it for our headline expressions. 오디오 어학당과 유튜브에서 무료로 다시 듣기 하실 수 있습니다.